Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Tina.
Hello, Tricia.
I'm super excited for today's podcast. Today we have back Tina Wolstencroft. She is the narrator to Be a Fae Rogue, which should be out any day. Like ACX tells you 10 business days, and I'm like, okay, it's been 10 business days. Mm-hmm. Where is my audio book? So by the time we release this, I'm going to release this when it comes out. So we can do it that way.
Great.
I was so happy for you to come on to narrate. Just give me a little background about you.
Background about me. I don't come from an acting background like a lot of narrators do. I came from, I'm sort of a late bloomer with, coming out of my shell as a performer. And I started with improv, which is also very scary because you don't have a script and you're just making stuff up, on the fly. But I think because it's such a team sport, you're relying on your partners to kind of bounce things off and just listen and react. And I think that's where I found my little performer energy. So as far as like narration and this career, I think I just, discovered this acting and performing community where I'm from. I grew up in Southern Massachusetts, and I live in Rhode Island right now. And in Providence, they have so many great theaters and they have art schools, and it's just a really great city to discover all the different types of arts. Though, even though I grew up so close to it, I never really knew about that world that had been there the whole time. So, yeah, as far as myself, grew up in Massachusetts, live in Rhode Island, and I was working in HR before I became a narrator. I did many years of like retail and retail management through college just to get by. And then I just kept doing that because it was flexible hours and easy. And then it came time where, I didn't want to be in retail anymore. I didn't like those hours. And it was just like really exhausting. And I was just trying to find myself. And that's when I started taking improv classes. And HR was a nice lateral move from what I was doing in retail management with like hiring and all that stuff. And in the midst of all of that, I did this like ladies rock camp one weekend. And our band coach, I found out, was an audiobook narrator. And I was really interested to find out more about that. But we were, in a band that weekend. We had to write a song and perform in front of people. So we got coffee after the camp was over. And she just kind of told me how she got started and a coach that she used to kind of help her, navigate this whole new world that I knew nothing about. I had at that point a little bit of improv experience. But yeah, I think I just started back in 2019, knowing nothing, not even listening to audiobooks. I was a big reader when I was younger, but then with just school and work, I just didn't find the time to read. And now this is all mostly what I do. And it's great. I wish I had more time to read and listen for pleasure, but one day we will find the time to do that.
Fine. I feel like we're two peas in a pod because I didn't start this like writing creative career until very late and wouldn't have told you that I would have ended up being an author of anything. Yes. So because my background is in science, and I was like, now where did this creativity stuff come from?
Yeah. I think, once as you're going through life and you're seeing, I don't know, you just kind of sometimes there's like this little like shift where it's like, do I want to be doing this for, however long? And you might observe other things, or just like talking with people, you kind of like start to learn more about what is out there and what is missing in your life, whether it's creative or just different types of hobbies. And I think it's awesome. Go us, just for
Yay! That's
pivoting and just
super.
being like, what? And we can always change again, and or we can add more experiences to our belt, but this is where we are.
Right. So you, me, and Jillian are a trio too, because she came from teaching into
Yeah,
narration.
yeah. Yeah, it's great once you realize these like maybe goals or, dreams that you had could be so attainable with just a little bit of perseverance or whatever. It's hard, but it's great. I'm so glad this I yeah, it's so weird how it kind of all came together.
I feel like it was meant to be. Like our little, our connections were just meant to be. And I will play the sample for "To Be a Fae Rogue" at the end of this podcast, so people can get the first intro to that. But your voice is amazing, and it just came alive as Titania. So I'm super excited for everyone to hear that. So maybe a little bit about what you experienced or how you experienced. You jumped in sort of on the fourth book of the Realm Chronicles, "To Be a Fae Rogue," which is um, maybe a little hard, but super excited that you're also going to narrate the finale this year. So that will be coming out. But talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So yes, it seemed at first I was like very excited to take it on. I mean, not I don't want to say it ever changed, but at first I wasn't even thinking about like, oh yeah, I'll catch up. I'm gonna read these three books and I'm gonna like get familiar with the story and I'm gonna read. I'm going to listen to Jillian and like seemed like such a I just felt honored to be able to help you out and help Jillian out and help myself out too because this looked like such a great series. And then as I started doing it, I started it was like self-inflicted pressure of like, oh, I Jillian set this up so wonderfully. And how can I fill these shoes in a way where I'm not trying to like mimic her, but also, I want it to be so consistent, but I also want to be able to feel that creativity or I don't know, it was just very complicated. But and I put a lot of pressure on myself of just like really trying to match the energy and um oh gosh, it was just like it was an adventure. And it's still an adventure, but now that I'm going to be starting the fifth book, I'm so much more comfortable because it's been more established and I got to know who the characters are and I'm not like second guessing as much. But yeah, I was just like totally doubting myself the whole time because I just was like, oh, I want to make Tricia proud. I want to make Jillian proud. And all the listeners who like got so used to and comfortable with Jillian's performance, I'm like, oh, I didn't want to let anybody down. Um, so that was the only part that was difficult. I feel like it was it was prepped very well, like the materials that you had given me and Jillian had given me, um, to get an idea of the characters and match the voices. It was all I couldn't have asked for like a better foundation, I guess, for me to kind of get into to take over that role. But I'm so happy. It took so long to finally get there, but I feel really happy I was able to do it because this is my first indie book, also. So just getting familiar with just the logistics of that on the other side of performance is just like, learning all sorts of stuff. But it
We're
was so
both on a learning
fun.
curve. I feel bad that you were like so stressed because
Oh,
the sample you sent me initially, I was like, yep, that's her. I know she's gonna do great. So
I appreciate that. It's just I'm in this little box with no audience to be like, great job, keep going. It's just kind of me with like, no, do that line again. Like gotta get it right. So that's my problem that I'm working on. And some days are better than others, but I just, yeah, I was
Yeah,
putting a
and that
lot
would
of
be
weight
hard too
into.
because even when I write, like I have an editor, well, to come back and say, well, I mean, at the end, when I turn my book over, I have an editor to come back and say, no, you could do better in this part, or you could do better in this part,
Yeah.
right? And I guess,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your author could be that for you a little bit, but you don't want to get that far along and then have the author be like, wow, wait a
To
minute, what
redo.
happened here? Yeah.
Yeah. But it is nice. Like I feel like if I did have any questions or if I was like too in my head about something, I felt comfortable enough where I could reach out to you because it's so different when you're working with publishers and producers. It's like they're the person I can talk to. I can't reach out to the author because of contracts and all sorts of things, which I completely respect. But sometimes it's a little bit more. It just takes a little bit longer to go through a middle person um, to get just like small little questions where I feel like I don't want to bother these busy people who are trying to cast all sorts of hundreds of books, and then I just, you know, just Tina's a quirk like that. She's just that's just how she is.
We definitely all have our little quirks like that, but I'm
Yeah,
super excited that we were matched up.
me
How many
too.
other audiobooks have you done?
I have done, I believe I this earlier, just like a couple months ago, I think I passed the 100 book mark. So I think that there's like maybe like 95 or so on Audible right now. And there's a couple I have a pseudonym where I have a couple of other titles, but I don't pursue that one as much. Um, but yeah, um I've got a lot of books in the pipeline through August and just trying to chug along, and it's all so great. I feel like since I started this, I don't think there's any project I've had where I've been like, oh, like it's been like so hard to get through this book. I feel so lucky that they've all been like so great. They're all so different but similar. A lot of them are young adults. Um, I haven't done as many fantasy, but there's a good handful of fantasies. I did a couple of YA fantasies when I first started out. And that was really fun. But I feel like I learned so much with each book that I do about myself and my performance and how I just get more confident and just discover more like what I have so much more fun performing. And then that kind of it empowers me to kind of help publishers or producers or authors like know what I can do almost. Like I don't want to say pigeonholing myself because that seems negative and I do love pigeons, but I know what I like and I like, you know, having genres that I really enjoy performing comes out in my performance and um hopefully will make everybody else enjoy it as well.
Right. Well, I follow narrators just like I follow authors because it seems like a lot of narrators do usually narrate in the same genre.
Mm-hmm.
So, like my chart books is like from the narrator you listen to, there's these
Yeah.
other titles and I'm like, ooh, I like that voice because
Yes.
it's not very often that I don't like a voice, but every once in a while I'll get a book and the voice just it doesn't resonate with me for whatever reason, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll return the book or something, and then I'll be like, oh wait. And so now I always listen to the samples to make
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah.
I don't like returning things because it just feels
No, no,
icky.
me neither.
But yeah, so I will definitely listen to a book just because it was by the same narrator as well.
Yeah. It's just like actors when you see them on screen, it's like, oh, I really love Kate Winslet or whoever, and be like, I might not see a certain movie that she does. Like, I don't know if there would be a movie that'd be like, oh, I don't know if that's like the kind of movie I'd be into, but Kate Winslet is in it. So I feel like I know I'd be able to enjoy it. And it just kind of, same with narrators, where it's like, I'm not really into, you know, thriller suspense books because they scare me, but I really love this narrator and she's doing it. So maybe, it just kind of opens you up to other things. which I like. But sometimes there's someone who's, yeah, they just, their voice hits a nerve or it reminds you of someone that you know that you aren't crazy about, and it's hard to separate those two things and enjoy the story because you just can't get past their voice.
Well, and you never know. Like sometimes I've like at the very beginning I didn't like them, and then I listened to it, and then that went away for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I got more into the story. And there's even books that I'll read that I don't like, aren't necessarily like drawn to like how it's written. But
Mm.
if it's enough of a story, it'll pull me in, and I'll
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
and that because I get, I think maybe all authors do this, but I'm picky about certain things about writing. If I see that thing, I'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can read it. But then if you get drawn into the story, then you
Mm-hmm.
get drawn into the story, and that I even forget that I had that problem in the beginning.
Right, right. Yep.
Right. I am always listening to audiobooks. I mean, I have a lot of physical books on my
Yeah.
bookshelf, and my
Physical
husband
books are
kind of,
fun, but
yeah,
sometimes,
he made me stop. But
oh no, he did.
well, I got my second, I got all the Black Twilight series books, and then I got
Mm,
all the White Twilight series books, but I bought them second hand. He was like, wait, these are the same books? I'm like, yeah, but it's the white series
yeah.
version
And
versus the
aesthetically,
black.
it looks nice
Right.
when it's on a
Yeah.
shelf. It's like art.
I know. Yeah. He didn't understand that, but that's okay.
I never do.
Yeah. So, okay, you're finished with To Be a Fae Rogue, which I'm super excited. That's coming out very, very soon, or it will be out by the time we release that. So, next is To Be a Fae. Have you read that yet?
Yes, it's
You
all
did.
read. It's all marked up and ready to be recorded. And it was so good. And it, oh, yeah. I love my favorite part of when I'm prepping books, reading them, anything is like when I can visualize it so clearly, like the writing help, like I can see it. Like I can see, you know, Titania's house and I can see the castle in the upper realm. And I just, yeah, I just love being able to get taken away and visualize everything and see the people. And um, I feel like I'm there. So it's easy. Not, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's just, it's when you can visualize it, it's easier to go there and escape into that world.
Well,
And
I'm glad you experienced it that way. That makes me feel really good
yeah,
because definitely when I listened to be a Fae Rogue. I listened to the whole thing and it was such a great experience. I love listening to my audiobooks. It's just like
oh,
I get to relive the whole story and your voice was so amazing throughout. I was just like swept away. And when I
thank
prep
you.
for the next books in the series, I always like listen to the audiobooks before. So I'm like immersed and I can
Yes.
like jump start my next writing off that. So
Oh,
I
that's
just love
great.
audiobooks. So
Me
you did an
too.
amazing job.
Thank you very much. It was great. I can't wait for the
And
next one.
I know, and that now I have to figure out what different fantasy thing I'm going to write, so we can keep going.
Yes.
Never know what's next.
You never know.
Well, and you met all the tons of characters in To Be a Fae, so
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of spoiler. Some of those might be coming down the pike.
Oh yeah.
So when you're starting to prep, you talked a little bit about marking it up. Do you do
Yep.
colors for the different characters, or
I
how do
do.
you do that?
I really like it. Every narrator marks up their script differently. Because I don't like to mark it up too much because it can get distracting. Like if I get very specific about like, oh, I want to make sure I emphasize this word. I used to do that when I first started out because I wanted to like really just make sure, I don't know, we all learn and what works and what doesn't work. Um, but yeah, the first thing I do, and it changes sometimes. It depends on where my brain is at because sometimes my brain just wants to go into spreadsheet mode and like break down all the pages and see like how um many pages one chapter has and how to like map out my recording schedule and have all the character, like I like to punch in the characters and put if they're a protagonist or a deuteragonist, or what chapters they appear in, and what are just, character descriptions. I love all that like data entry stuff, but my brain isn't always ready to do that on certain days. So I'll either like I always read the book, but sometimes I might be in like my enter data mode. Um, and if that happens, I'll do that before I read the book, or I'll read the book first. If like, the day that I'm like, okay, I've got the time, I'm going to start prepping, I might just read the book. And I don't even want to get distracted when I'm reading the book. Because there'd be times where I start reading, but then it's like, oh, let me get a notebook, let me just write this down. But then that kind of takes me out of it. And I don't always have the time to just read without also taking notes. Um, so sometimes I do the little spreadsheet first. Sometimes I'll read it first. Sometimes I'll read it and then take notes first. It kind of changes all the time, depending on where my energy levels are for that day. But yeah, I always read. I do my little data entry. And then once I'm done reading and do my little organizing, then I will go back into the book and I will highlight. Every character has their own color, and in a different little notebook I'll be like, okay, this person, because you have there's a lot of characters.
I was gonna say, do you memorize like every color for every character?
Well, I think in my spreadsheet, when anytime a character will come up, I'm like, okay, well, they need to be a different color because it's a new person I haven't come across. And you can only highlight so much, so I have underlines, and then I have squiggles. So there's like all squiggles are usually for like minor characters who have like a minor line, or like if it's a whole crowd chanting, they'll always get like one squiggle color. But in my spreadsheet, I'll be like, are they a minor one line kind of person? um like, should I even give it a color because it only has like one line? But I want to make sure, what if they come up another time? Like, being a little consistent, not that I'll remember what color I gave them in another book I'm doing for them. But I like color. I like the color coding because when there's a lot of different people talking in the same scene, it's just a lot easier for me to kind of keep track. And I just like the colors. It's visually appealing to me. And, sometimes I'll make a mark if there's like a beat break for like a little tone shift. If it goes from like internal thinking to like, okay, now I'm in this place, I might do a little bit of markup there. Or I'll underline um, like proper noun places if it's mentioned for the first time, or a character's mentioned for the first time. This is like way too much information, but
No,
yes.
I am so entranced. Yeah, I mean, my first series that I had narrated was the Kingdom Journal series, and I had a female lead and a male lead, and I learned a lot from that. But I learned more about the whole process every time I talk to someone, and it's just so amazing to me, not only like how you can pitch your voice to be different pitches and different intonations. My male narrator said, "Oh, do you want it like Keanu Reeves, or do you want it like this actor?" And I was like, "What? You can even do that?" Like, I was like, my mind was blown. But then even like how amazing the editing process is, and that you can just re-record one word and they can slip it in seamlessly, like it was never re-recorded, right? So
Yeah.
the whole process just amazes me.
Yeah, speaking of Keanu Reeves, not him specifically, but just as far as like actors and casting, I do that a lot with characters in books too, because usually I don't have like any specific voices in mind if I'm not trying to, match them, but a lot of them through dialogue and getting to know the characters, like Tyler is ridiculous. He he would remind me of like a Keanu Reeves kind of dude.
Yeah.
But if as I'm on that second pass when I'm doing all the highlighting of dialogue, that's when I get more in tune with the characters themselves. And if they remind me of anybody I personally know, or a character from like a show I've watched a ton of times, or a movie. And it's kind of like a combination with like if there's any physical descriptors, if those physical descriptions of a character plus the dialogue reminds me of like a hybrid of maybe Mark Ruffalo and Denzel Washington. That's such a weird combination. I don't know why I said that. But, you kind of sometimes you visualize a certain character that Mark Ruffalo has played, but, the demeanor is more another actor. So sometimes I just have little hybrids of them, and that's easier for me to also visualize and switch up where I'm just like, oh, this is my Keanu character or whoever. So I just kind of picture them, and sometimes I'll get into a physical stance to like. Sometimes that helps me get into them also. But yeah, that's fun. It takes a long time because sometimes when I first started out, I would be like Google imaging these actors who I have in mind to just like input them into the spreadsheet. But I learned that is a big time waster, but it was fun to do.
Well, yeah, and now I feel bad. I was like, oh, I could have sent you all my trailer videos for all the other books. I'm like,
I
you
would
could
have,
have
I
get
would have
even
loved
more.
that. I would have loved that. That's okay.
Because Tyler and all those witches started way back in the Kingdom Journals, which is 10 books ago now. So yeah.
I wish I could have gone back and just revisited all of that. Didn't have time.
Okay, next time I'll know what to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I love
the more
information, the better. I love digging into the character backstories and everything, and how you might envision them.
Right. Yeah. Does it ever hurt your voice to do some types of I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that because especially if there's series that I get, if there's a character that shows up in one book and I'm not, if the other books haven't been written, but I know it's a series, like I don't know how many times they'll be featured in future books. So I always try to pick something that's not going to hurt my voice if I'm going to be using it for a long time. So there's just, yeah, and that's something I'm still kind of figuring out. I feel like my voice can do so many things, but I'm still, and I know what certain sounds will hurt my voice, but I know that there's other little tricks that I haven't figured out yet. Like I would love to get a vocal coach to help me access certain parts of my body to help me with like endurance and specific sounds that I want to get, but the only way I know how is to like shred my voice.
Oh yeah.
But I love being able, I have so many voices that I would love to be able to access. I just want to make sure I'm doing it healthy and not
right, so you don't hurt yourself for the future of the next book or the next project.
So there's a lot of kind of practice where I want to also make sure if I have to get closer to the mic, sometimes that helps with certain lower register voices. Because if it's like, it's just easier to go deeper if it's quieter. But I just have to get closer to the mic. But yeah, I just try not to go there.
No, yeah. So is this your narrator booth that we're seeing behind you?
Yes, this is a homemade booth that my husband and his friend helped make. Just 4x4s and double wall insulation, and I got sound panels, but it's nice and roomy, and I like it very much.
It looks very homey with all your little fairy lights there.
Yeah, I got my fairy lights and little tchotchkes. Yeah, this is where I spend almost my whole life.
Wow. Do you ever start feeling like you're a little closed in there?
Luckily, these walls are padded if I were to aggro, but I do try to take as many breaks as I can because it's hard now because it's winter and it's cold, but in the spring and summer I like to take 10 to 15 minute breaks pretty often. So I'm like giving my voice a rest, but I'm also like going outside and like putting my feet on the ground and trying to like get some real air and not just this indoor air that I'm breathing in and recycled breathing. But I
we
like
definitely support you having fresh air and sunshine. Those are very important.
It's really good. I'm not great about reminding myself to go get it, but yes, that's what I'm gonna do this year. That's one of my resolutions, just to get out more and breathe outside air and not work
That's
as
a
much.
good one.
Yeah.
That is hard sometimes, isn't it?
It is when you work from home, yeah. It's
Yeah,
hard
I'll sit here
to
and I'll be
breathe.
working and I'll be like, wait a minute, it's been 3 hours. I need water. I
It
need
goes so
something.
fast. And I need water and food because I mean, I've often said I wish I was a robot because, once I get into momentum of recording and then my stomach starts growling, I'm just like, I just want to get through this chapter. And it's so hard because my microphone will pick it up. I use this pillow. I usually just put it under my sweatshirt to kind of try to buffer the noise. I don't know if it actually works, but if I only have like a few pages left, I gotta get some insulation down there so I can get through it. And then
I
I'll,
never thought of even doing. I obviously, when I get hungry, I can't do anything, so I just have to stop. But
yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't
I
have
do
thought
get
that you could have
hangry, but
pillow.
sometimes the noises come before that have to eat alarm goes off.
Right. Well, we so appreciate your whole, sacrifice for these books.
Oh,
Very
it's
much appreciated.
I don't consider it a sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's all great. I love it. I love spending that's my favorite part is just the preparation and the research. Even if there's like an audition that I get for a book and I have like 2 pages, I try to find out whatever I can from like the author and what else they've done. And I just, even if maybe if the book has already been released and they don't have an audiobook yet, sometimes there'll be like more pages or something that I can find just to get more information on the characters. So it's really hard to just go in without any backstory. You just have 2 pages and you kind of have a summary of what the whole book is about, but it's like, I don't know who this person is. How would this person talk? Like, what's their personality? Like, I like to know all that stuff because that helps me
Right.
bring them to life.
Their character voice and their intonation and all
Yeah.
the unique things.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot when I'm doing my characters, I create all their backstories. And their backstory may not even ever go into the book, but it feeds into like their personality and their
Yeah.
reactions and all of those type things. So
Totally.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will when I do my breaks, I'll make like little videos because, and then my mind's just working. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If people want to find you and your work, where can we find you?
Well, for books I've done, you can always look up my name on if you have like the Libby app or like any kind of local, if you have a library um, system, you can always look up my name. You can go on Audible to also see some more titles that I have. My website is www.tinawolstencroft.com. Pretty easy as long as you know how to spell my name, which is not that hard, but it does look complicated and it sounds complicated. Um, and I have to update my website. That's one of the projects that would take me like 8 hours. Like, but it would be fun. I'd just be like, oh, let me move this here and let me do this. But that's where you can find me. I'm on Instagram. I don't know what my handle is on there, but I think I'm the only Tina Wolstencroft, so you can just look me up. And I'm sure you could find me on Tricia's Instagram if you follow her.
Definitely, you are there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll be excited to include the sample for To Be a Fae Rogue after this conversation in the podcast. And I will be releasing that on Instagram too. So hopefully we can share and tag each other in that as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to have you back when we release To Be a Fae.
Thank you, Tricia. Me neither. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Hood low over my forehead, I peer across the meadow as the last light of day basks my castle in orange. I watch the windows as one by one lights spring forth, as someone within ignites the torches in the passageways. Trying to identify the forms passing the glass panes, I squint, eager for any glimpse of my family. A gale sweeps through the trees, and I hug my cloak to my middle.
I do not often see anyone in these woods.
I jump at the sound of Grant's voice and fight the instinct to spin to face him. Heart pounding, I assess my options. My Fae-at-Arms, or former Fae-at-Arms, will know my voice. I love how the castle looks as the last light graces it. I raise my tone an octave, praying he will not recognize me.
Odd that I have not seen you here before.
Perhaps I blend into the landscape well then. I come here to be alone and think.
You should not be in the forest after dark. Even the Queen's Wood shelters danger.
The Queen's Wood? They have named my forest the Queen's Wood? My anxiety at being found mixes with longing. It is nice she is honored in this way, I say.
Did you know the Queen?
Leaves rustle behind me, and I glance down, catching sight of his boot. I have only seen her in the village with her cousins.
You live in the village. I can escort you home.
I feel the heat from his body as he approaches. No. I tug the sides of my hood over my cheeks. As I said, I come here often. I will be fine.
As you wish.
The ground crunches, and the air behind me cools. I tuck my chin to my chest and wait. I catch sight of him exiting the forest and crossing the meadow. As he enters the orchard, his form disappears behind the tree trunks. I jump into the air and weave through the trees. Heart in my throat, I descend to my porch, boots thudding onto the wood planks. That had been too close. Inhaling, I enter the cabin.
That sounded like a hard landing.
Nicholas, one of my most trusted guards from the palace, says. I shed my cloak and hang it beside the door. I saw Grant in the wood. The Queen's Wood. Why have I not been told they named my forest?
You spoke with Grant?
Adam, another trusted guard from my palace, jumps up. Yes, he found me. He did not see my face, and I tried to alter my pitch. That is not the point. I raise my hands to my hips.
We did not wish to cause you further strife, and you should not torture yourself by going there. What if you were recognized? What would you do then?
I know. Pulling the chair from the table, I slump into the seat opposite my ward. I lift my eyes to meet his. Were you nice to Adam and Nicholas?
Yes, I was nice to my babysitters.
Theron, in his Fae form, rolls his eyes. I lean forward. We do not have babies in Middle-earth. We have younglings. Adam slides a book across the tabletop to me.
They say this is the last one.
Lifting the thick text from the tabletop, I turn to the page marked with a leather strap. Lines connect names, Lilith to an unknown being, begetting the vampire lines. A second line, opposite the first, links Lilith to an unnamed archangel, creating the witch lines. Sonia's name hovers under the witch lines. Was she Lilith's daughter? Surely Sonia, former high priestess of the witch lines, now transformed into an archangel who resides in Sheol with Abaddon and Lucifer, could not be that old. Recalling Sonia's threat, I shudder. You've no idea who I am, who my parents are. I will be reconciled, even if I have to move heaven and earth to do it. Next time a volcano erupts or an earthquake rumbles through the bedrock, you will be witnessing my reach. The faded day above the desert echoes through my psyche. My death, the witch's circumvention of my untimely passing to the afterlife, and the pledge I made scroll through my thoughts. My reach will be limitless as well. But here I am a whole season later, with no clearer a picture of how to stop Sonia than the day I burned the page alerting me of her promise.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.